I think we're gonna kick right off. We've got the number 1 hero versus the number 2 hero. All Might 3 versus Endeavor 2.
Yep.
Sam, what are your thoughts on Endeavor as not just a character, but moving into the format as itself?
Well, so Endeavor is one of those interesting cases where he doesn't look super interesting at face value because he's just +2 to either stat, and then he's basically just -4 to either stat, and paying that life might seem kind of weird, right? You start at 631 and then it ticks down pretty quick. However, those abilities are so uniquely positioned into this format. They counteract very specific things.
Yeah, it's interesting because to talk back to olden days, this reminds us of a character from different IPs, Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, who had a lot of pay health on his face in order to leverage the advantage. A lot of cool evil symbol stuff historically in the game. I personally have been very mid on this character for his entire existence. I'm excited to see Garrett Brett, one of the greats of the games. Prove me wrong. I just wanted I want him to prove me wrong.
I would say Endeavor is generically good. And so when it comes to a player like Garrett Brett, who is maybe the most decorated player of Universes, you can expect him to maximize the potential of those effects.
Absolutely. But on the other side, when we do have the number 1 hero, we've got All Might 3. No slouch himself, a winner of one of the biggest provisionals. We have Flex Your Might into a back alley haymaker. I'm pretty sure we got to draw 2 cards off the Flex Your Might. We are going to get to draw 2 cards off of All Might. We're about to be a 10 hand size character, Sam.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy that this this Flex Your Might has come out so early, right? This is a card that pretty much only gets worse as the game goes on, as your opponent gets more foundations to play around the committal effect of it. They have more chances to add a high, have a high damage attack. And man, this is really the start you're going to want to have as someone playing Flex Your Might.
Right. Yeah. It not counting towards progressive difficulty, but taking up that slot in your card pool to not to count towards progressive. Excuse me, to play attack cards, which is why it's so early in the game. It's a little it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? I want to play attack cards because this card doesn't count, and it's tougher to build out later. But I don't really have the resources in order to sling a bunch of orange cards, and so
yeah. Speaking of resources, something that's going to help your resource count a lot, Ice Gliding.
Yeah.
This is a card that can reduce a lot of speed, but you got to divvy it up over multiple attacks. And so if it's me, I want to use it as early as possible, right?
Makes sense. Yeah. -2 to this one, -1 to the next one if I happen to interact with the move, which we do. We block with this, using the advantage. Easy peasy.
Yep, and we are going to have a hardened jab coming out because we saw that that we were going to, pass this check very easily.
Makes sense. So this is going to come in with a -1. It's going to be starting at a 2 mid for 5, which is cool. And the fact that we've gotten to build 2 resources on the back alley and now the hardened jab is good. But I feel like if we have it on the mid block, Endeavor's sitting pretty. We do not care about this move at all.
Yeah, Endeavor getting to go first and just having those 2 full build turns really helped out a lot, right? It's the kind of thing where if Garrett had decided to poke out, check poorly, et cetera, things could be looking very differently after a stun 2 attack.
Absolutely. And then the other thing about All Might 3, which we haven't even had a chance to talk about, is not only does he draw the 2 cards, right? He gives a bunch of stats based on the number of cards in your rival's hand. And so the more cards that Garrett has to block, which he loves to do, the less impactful, or the more impactful All Might's attacks are going to be, either with speed or damage. So
yeah. And I love this. We have 2 actions in our hand. Both are mid blocks, but one has Breaker 1. And now we go to play the Manly Passionate guy. That is one of the better looking RLE cards in my opinion. The alternate promos. It's got the really sick action lines, right? And one of my favorite foundations in the game. I love to block. I love to build. I love to clear my card pool. Yeah. It does all 3.
Yeah, it certainly does, and especially with All Might drawing so many cards, there's a lot of times where you in order to draw the cards, you have to play attack cards, and whenever you play the attack cards, you want to play more attack cards, and you run out of progressive difficulty to build on your turn. So why not just build on their turn, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend both turns doing the thing you want to do.
It is our turn, Tam. That is the best way to play the game.
Right. Well, it looks like the number 2 hero is being relentless on his defense, and so we're going to draw up to our printed hand size and see if we can make some magic happen versus...
Wait, Endeavor's the number 2 hero?
Absolutely, yeah.
I thought you saved the most people.
No, I thought All Might has.
Oh, I might just be in the wrong spot in the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I could have sworn he's okay.
No spoilers.
I haven't watched as much of the show. I did start watching it because of the game, though.
Yeah?
You know, yeah, it's 100% what got me to start watching My Hero Academia.
Yeah, it's man, the show's amazing. The show's absolutely fantastic, and it shows all the flavor that comes through all these characters, right?
I love that you mentioned that because I'm a huge flavor guy. It's what got me into this game in the first place. Was I took another IP that I liked and went, wow, I love the translation of this flavor once I understood the game's mechanics.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I started to watch the show is I want to understand the flavor. One of the things I've heard the most is people say, wow, this character plays like I expect him to. Wow, this character does what his character does in the show, and it makes sense to everyone. And I want to feel that joy.
Yeah, that is one of the things that you get with this game. There's some games that use anime IPs where it's just like a big chunk of text box, and you never know what's going on. How it relates to whatever.
You got to put on your reading glasses.
Right. But in this game, like, you know, Endeavor, he's a fire guy. He burns himself in order to activate his move. If he gets too hot, he overheats, right? As it's shown of, I'll pay my vitality, my health as a resource in order to make my abilities happen. Really, really cool. We got an Ice Storm coming down with Seasoning Advantage following. We're just going to soak that one nice and simple. Get a little bit of a chip damage, and it looks like we're just building.
Yep, Ice Storm as a potentially 8 low for 4 there. Not the most appealing thing to try and block. Not the most threatening attack, but it is probably going to be very important that Garrett gets momentum off of this dealing damage.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you think he's not afraid of capture evildoers on the other side? We've seen Garrett's playing it. Is that a risk he's willing to run into this All Might that has it on symbol?
I mean, they got to have it, right? So not only they got to have it, they got to play it. It's game 1. It might be worth it just to be like a little risky with like your choices here to really test the metal. It gives me big instant explosive release vibes, right?
Okay.
Like game 1, your opponent, like their first move, they play Nitro Explosion Ignition. Do you block it? You haven't seen an instant explosive release, right?
Yeah.
If they get you, but they gotta have it and they gotta play it. So as we're feeling out how this All Might wants to play, I think Garrett's gonna be okay taking the momentum, especially if his deck wants to utilize it really well.
Yeah, we did see back in a provisional, you know, it was Asui versus an All Might 3, and the All Might 3 absolutely had it, won the game on the spot because they had it, and had 2. They had 2 capture evildoers. But in this game, we have what looks to be a back alley haymaker coming down, possibly the greatest leadoff attack ever printed in the My Hero card game.
For sure. Easy. Stun 2, draw a card or build. It's got EX2, so later in the game, not only is it a good poke, but it's also a good finisher. It's meaty with that 5 damage. This card is one of the best cards to ever been printed in the game. Only a rare. Yeah. And I've actually seen someone who has a playmat with this, like the full art from it, and it looks so good. I would not be surprised to see promos of this, alternate arts, or just even like, you know, official playmats come out with this kind of stuff. For sure. Absolutely. Looks like we're blocked with a class 1A lineup. Another mid block. I'm not positive this card has breaker. I'm not too familiar with the keywords on it, but it looks like All Might is going to keep swinging, and we're going to roll back-to-back 3s. Unfortunate. Committing 3 resources here really hurts. But we committed All Might, so we might not need to draw, question mark? At least that's what we're saying.
Yeah, importantly, All Might gets his stats while committed, but you lose the ability to commit him and one of your foundations to draw 2 cards. It's kind of like having 2 passing the torches at the same time, right?
Kind of.
But one of the things that I think this card fell off a lot, we saw this all over set 1. It was hugely important in the early provisionals. And as soon as Face Shield kind of came out, no one was playing reverse throw anymore, right?
It's just so slow, man. It's so slow.
Face Shield just absolutely blocks it on a 5, by itself. Most of the other throws are like base 3 speed at minimum, and they're plating characters that are down to put speed on it, right? Like, if you had characters playing throws in set 2, they still needed to worry about the speed, and it's interesting to see this card come back into flavor.
Yeah, play 2 attacks pass a little crazy, right? We didn't like perpetuate our board state at all. I'm nervous about Nult's ability to stay in the game. Garrett hits like another build turn. He's kind of set for the rest of it, right?
Yeah, and Garrett's got plenty of foundations to pass plenty of attacks, whereas it looks like we did still have foundations in our hand, but we have Manly Passionate Guy, so one of those can be built still on defense.
True. As long as we've got the low block to mess with it, which looks like we do get another Manly Passionate to do it. And we're 5 on our giant ice wall.
Yeah, speaking of low blocks, we do open up with a low attack, so it'll be interesting to see how this gets played around. You kind of got to flip resistance if you want to block here, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Flip to cancel the stun, really important. Maybe saving those 2 health, 2 or 3 turns from now might be important, but we're thinking about here. We're thinking about right now.
I'm a big fan of the -2 ability on it. However, if my plan is to block to progress my board state instead of building on my own turn, you have already committed to that decision in a previous life.
True.
You have told yourself, I have to block this first attack. I have to block it with one of these foundations. And, one of the things that I don't think people think about too much is we think about having all of our blocks, right? We want to have the right block zones, but we also need to make sure that we can capitalize on any lapse in our opponent's offense, because there was a real chance that Garrett just builds again and passes,
right,
and then those foundations got stuck in our hand.
Absolutely.
Doesn't feel good.
That's very, very true. So we're doing a little bit of math here. So this is a 3 base speed. We gave it +2 with Endeavor. It's a 5 low, assuming we've got a 3 low block in our hand like we do. This is on an 8. Checks a 5, 6, 7 with a high value target. 8.
Perfect math.
Respond. We'll build down another Manly Passionate Guy.
And there's the play. That's why we didn't build them.
There it is.
Because we get to build on our turn, Tam. It's our turn.
Hey, you're convincing me.
I'm just hyped to see Manly Passionate Guy doing a whole bunch of work, because that card should be one of the premier 1 diffs, and I think it gets overshadowed a bit just because, it's very relevant to what our opponent is doing. It's not proactive, it's reactive.
Correct. Yeah. One of the few cards that we get to really interact with our opponent on their turn. So we're gonna see how Garrett follows up. I mean, we played Seizing, so obviously there's another attack card coming here. +2 speed to this move, and we get to selectively flip a cool card. Oh, this is a good one. Don't love checking the 3 there, but that is okay because we get to build in the middle of it.
Yep, and that -2 speed is going to probably be very important looking at this board state, and we are going to flip. It can't be fixed because we want to get this stun in.
Absolutely. It felt bad not getting to stun 2 on the first one. We had if we hit the stun 2 and it was able to connect, right, flipping the resistance instead, maybe we could have stopped that block from happening. But
yep, we do get to still keep up the Manly Passionate Guy. So if there is a potential to block, it's not a good one, but there is a potential to block and still ramp our board. However, +2 speed from Seizing, the potential for bonus speed from Endeavor, not looking good for the block status.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how greedy Garrett wants to be. We could pay the 1 health to give it +2 damage, which is fine, right?
That's what I would do. I try not to do that on commentary too much because I'm not that great, but that is the play I want to make right now, because my opponent starts at 30 health, which is almost the same as me, right? And I want to be getting this damage in while I can.
Absolutely. It looks like that's a choice that Garrett made. This is It's a 4 mid for 4 or is a 3 mid for 4 starting space?
I believe it's 4-4. It should be a 4-4 starting.
So it's a 5, 4, 5, 6, 7 currently. 5 or 7's pretty good. That's pretty okay. Yeah, and he says it is worth it. Down to 19. As Garrett takes the obvious lead, obviously not to block, so we get to draw the bonus card. Hey, it replaces itself.
So important to know, Garrett has just casually built into deadlock without us even noticing.
Wait, what?
He's got a ton of foundations in play.
He is at 11, huh?
Yeah.
I definitely thought he had stopped at 10.
Yep. Well, he did in the seizing. He did
man,
build that
sneaky
in.
man.
So, one of the things I've been like paying attention to a lot is the players who are not afraid to build into deadlock, when and how they do it. How do you go from 10 to that 14, 15 count that can sort of defend you through powerful deadlock effects? And, Garrett just kind of sneaking on in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Looks like we got +1 speed, +2 damage, paying the health for the extra 2 damage. This is an 8 damage move coming in, huh?
Yep,
that's
pretty
also
fast.
going to draw him a card, and we still have a bunch, more than half our resources ready to continue to build afterwards. 2 of these moves have said draw a card to keep our hand size nice and healthy. This looks really, really good. I don't know if it's quite blood in the water good, but it's good.
Yeah, 19 health, still a lot to chew through. 3 progressive difficulty, still tough to deal with. We could potentially see a late capture evildoers coming in if it gets drawn off the top here.
Oh, that would be an absolute beating.
Looks like he ripped another rapid punches, but I can only guess from this angle.
I mean, we gotta give it up, right? Like 11 seems so hard. We check 1-3, and we're just left open with. I mean, here's the issue: all these cards left in our hand, right?
Right. If we don't have a way to clear this card pool, it's almost certainly a build angle from here. Calling for backup, very simple, elegant effect. It's a 1 difficulty, 5 control. You flip it, you draw a card. If it's not the first dance you played, you have to discard 1. But
yeah,
offensively, it's going to be the first thing you do 99% of the time.
So this is a pretty good position for a Nult to be. Because we're getting +2, maybe 3 speed on every single move, and it never only gets to pay the is it 2 life for -4 speed? You only get to do that once per turn, and so if we can get through that one time, essentially free block,
I don't
we might be sitting pretty.
I don't think we've actually seen Garrett activate either of those -2 life effects yet.
I just don't think Nult's played things that are threatening enough to make us press panic for that button.
Right, and when you pay 2 life to give an attack -4 damage, you're effectively giving it -2 damage if it's just damage you're worried about. When it comes to that -4 damage, we're looking to apply that to attacks that care about their damage number. Something like a Twisting Azure Inferno for Chaos, Fire, Death decks. If there's nothing that really cares what the damage threshold is at, or if it's still going to deal at least 1 to go to momentum, it's not great to fire it off.
Yeah, for sure. Here comes old tried and true, though.
Yeah.
Hard and chop.
It's some of the freest damage you can get in this game. It's so tough to deal with this attack, and it is one of the few candidates to just reduce the damage on because you don't want to block it.
Yeah, discard if you do, 6 if you don't. Pretty okay. Pretty okay.
Yep. And, honorary 4 difficulty, cost 2 cards to block, solid numbers. And speaking of solid numbers, is that a Texas smash?
Hey, it's
right
where we
here
are.
in Texas?
Right here in Texas. Yeehaw. Texas Smash 4 high for essentially 7 because of the combo. And gives the next move, it telegraphs a little bit, but it gives the next move an additional +4 damage. This is all but enough to close out a game, especially if you have another Lone Star State.
Yeah, if you this is also the card that in set 1 combos so well with reverse throw.
Correct.
It's pretty much the biggest damage pump you could put onto a reverse throw that wasn't plus ultra, and comboed with plus ultra so super well that it was a mainstay of decks on its symbols for a while. Both that whole package. This could be a really hype turn if we have a follow-up throw.
Agreed. It also depends on like I think Garrett's hand will have to be like pretty down for us to fall into this trap, though. We have a lot of resources available to us. Yeah, it's given a bunch of speed.
Double Texas. Here we go. It's happening, Tam.
Hey.
It's happening. We dropped Garrett down to 13. Our Endeavor is down to 13. We still haven't fired off. It looks like, or we fired off the minus damage on the chop, but it looks like we still have access to the minus speed. And do you think Garrett's got the high block and he was just waiting for the second Texas?
It would be an insane chump check for him not to, right? So this is 7 damage coming in because of the +4 from the previous Texas, 4 more putting it up to 11. You could just pump the damage with using All Might and be like, yo, high block or nothing, right? If he's actually stuck with all lows, like, that's game.
Yep.
But that's not what Garrett's posturing.
Yeah, we're telegraphing the block with the ice gliding here. You know, we're waiting for it to get all the damage and then saying, okay, actually, I'm going to block this, though. Like, it's very cool that this is 11 damage. However, it will not deal any if we have the high block.
Looks like we discarded for +4 to the next, though. Discarding a wind-up punch, one of the new Ultra Res from Heroic Clash.
Yeah, discarding an attack, not the most common thing you see, but if we've got the gas, we've got the gas.
Yeah. It's saying, Colt's kind of saying, yo, kind of just trying to go all out plus Ultra, right? Because this will be the last card in his hand.
He does.
Yes, All Might can redraw, but like,
yeah, I was gonna say we're worried about our resource count, right? If we didn't commit 2 cards to discard a non-attack card to play our next one, we might be worried about actually passing this check.
My partial block goes down to 7. I mean, triple tech.
Oh, no high block, and then a throw for the
5, 6, 7, 8. 7.
Right. Garrett can survive just
8.
by blocking this, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to come in at 9, but then it's going to get bonus damage equal to the cards that Garrett has in his hand, which I believe is 2. That puts it at 11, which means any block leaves Garrett at 1, so he can't activate any Endeavor effects.
That's true. I mean, the other option you have, right, is to try and save just a little bit. You could use that once per turn, reduce the damage by 4, right?
Ooh,
well, I don't think we've done that on the previous move, correct?
Yeah, if we pay down to 5 life and we reduce it down to a 5 damage throw, we would end up with 1 additional life at the end of it.
Yeah.
I do believe we did the -4 damage on Chop, though.
That does make sense.
Yeah,
he said I'm not blocking. I should save the life here where I can.
Right, because he's got the die on the character, and I'm 90% sure that we had that early on.
I trust you.
Yeah, and we haven't seen the minus speed come out, so it's gonna be tough. Telegraphing the no high block was really rough there. When I say telegraphing, it could be a bait. Maybe he assumed triple Texas, who knows? But that would be beyond my ken.
Here comes a low block, as well as it's an attack. An auto block. I mean, this one's super free, but we're still gonna be taking the 6 all the way down.
Going down to 1.
Don't quite have the gas to finish it out. The question here is, without the use of our character, can we find 11? Is that possible?
This is the plus ultra moment, right? This is the moment where you are at your absolute lowest. You have been denied the resources that you covet the most, and this is going to be the time where your deck either shows up or shows out for you.
Absolutely. We'll have to see. Garrett looks like he's not reviewing, so we have at least 1 attack card in our hand for sure. We'll see how far we can stretch and leverage. We are under the fire symbol. There's plenty of draw happening under that symbol, things like calling for backup and so on and so forth. So we get to dig a little deep into our deck. We've got +2 damage with the Heroic Lineage, and an easy way to turn it on with the ice gliding. So, I mean, we find 2 5 damage moves that we can't quite handle, and it's curtains.
Yep, here's one of them, and if you block it, it's gonna grab another one.
This
is Hellflame Stomp.
Hellflame Stomp.
My apologies.
Which has hidden text because he's Endeavor. If it deals damage, he's going to gain 2 health, which means that he can give speed and damage if this one happens to make contact, which we can pump +3 speed if we absolutely need to. This is
and ice gliding is going to give us a bonus speed. He's going to take the damage, it looks
and he
like.
Gets, oh my goodness, that's so good. That's so good for Endeavor.
And interestingly enough, his first enhance was not to just draw a card, right, from that calling for backup, which tells me we got the gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we would have drawn more gas, actually.
Certainly would have. All right, so man, Man, Freezer Burn's so cool. He checked the pour and he said, "Yo, we're gonna re-ready one of those for you." This is a 3-diff. This is a 3-diff attack, slinging 4 low for 4.
And it cancels any ability that you happen to play during it by destroying a foundation.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's nothing really that we have to cancel here, but that is an option. It's a very strong card. One of my favorite rares from set 3.
Yeah.
It is one of the hardest cards, I think, to utilize to its fullest potential.
For sure.
But once you really get it, because, your rival gets a choice, and then they don't have to play anything during it. It's still only 4 low 4, et cetera, et cetera. However, once you pair it with any amount of stat giving, whenever you have a character or cards that give it stats, it becomes a monster to deal with.
I thought that was going to be a lethal attack, but it looks like the Ice Storm is going to force us to scoop it up and go to game 2.
Yeah, having that extra attack in the hand, Garrett was prioritizing making sure it hits through pretty much even a +1 block, because high value target plus a +1 low, we potentially get there, and the good symbol has +1s in every zone.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think with the ice gliding plus the quick to axe,
there's so much, right?
Yeah,
Garrett had so much. The only thing he needed to do there was draw the attacks.
Absolutely, and he did.
Yeah, that was a great line from our All Might player. Colt had a really sick line, and I'll tell you what, most characters, that line probably kills them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most players, that line probably kills them, but the board state that Garrett had, the triple ice gliding, just so much accrued. That 31 starting health was enough to get it there, right? We paid for the -4 on the chop, and then we lived at 1.
Yeah.
Can't get more anime than that.
For sure. So as Colt, what do you do to change up your game plan, right? You were so close. They got him to 1. How do you squeak that edge in order to take the match down? Because you got 2 more games that you have to actually succeed twice. What are your thoughts?
Well, considering that the symbol that Garrett's on doesn't have any throw hate, right? It doesn't have a face shield. It doesn't have a wall cling. It doesn't have a training with gunhead.
Sure.
And so I think you really want to prioritize finding your damage pumps onto reverse throws. I think you really need to prioritize making that reverse throw draw you a card, because we've seen Garrett has draw potential. We've seen that, the All Might 3 was not drawing cards from that first game and fell behind in resources, right? We didn't see him activate the draw 2 a single time, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he did it once,
maybe
but
once?
to no real avail.
Yeah, just very early on, and so it's the kind of thing where you're going to have to match this resource game if you want to take a game off him.
Yeah, I can agree with that completely. I mean, one of the big power moves that All Might 3 has is the fact that he does get to draw 2 bonus resources. He is effectively an 8-hand size character as long as you can leverage the stage in order to do it, and eventually you can outclass the stage that Garrett can present a little quicker than what Endeavor 2 has got going for it. So,
and going first, he's going to be able to do that much quicker as well, right? You'll get to build first, you'll get to most likely attack first, and Garrett was at 1 and had to draw specifically Hellflame Stomp to be able to activate his character ability again.
Right.
And so if you can get him that low, going first much earlier before he's got that board set up, it probably won't allow him to do the same things next game.
What are your thoughts on having Endeavor burn himself out a little bit, right? Maybe play a little bit more of a defensive game and have Endeavor, spend that real cost. If I'll pay 1 health, I'll pay 1 health, I'll pay 1 health. Put up the wall. I mean, doing 31 is tough. Doing 25, maybe a little easier,
Yeah, that's almost certainly going to come down to how many ice glidings Garrett's going to get down, how much speed hate, because I still think you're better off pressuring that life total directly, if only because he's probably going to have to spend life to also use his defensive abilities on face, right?
Right.
So, you're still getting something out of it, even if he -4 speed and block.
Right.
You're still getting that 2 chip. So it's still whittling away. It's still making him burn himself down. But as far as trying to get an Endeavor player to pay their own resource down for you, I would say that game plan would be more feasible against anyone other than Garrett Brett.
Sure, that's fair. you think the player is not going to fall for such a simple trick.
Yeah,
which, I can agree with that.
I feel like you have to force him into it, right? Like it could be a case where he absolutely pays his way down to, 10 life over the course of the game and things like that. But it's not a strategy I would rely on.
That's fair. That's totally fair. All right, so we got All Might starting off with a honestly significantly better build. Specialists of Sound, one with Nature, 2 high impact, 2 diff cards are the good symbol. Taking a risky Harden, and it makes sense. Build 4 pass, not terrible, not the best, but we'll see how Garrett responds.
Went for the guaranteed 0 diff there. I like that play, right? We know for sure we're going to build that 0, and then we have 5s. We have 3s and 5s.
Yeah. I mean, we saw earlier in the day Mark Tyner not respect his 1 checks and get punished for it. You can also sit here and not respect your 3 checks, right? Just doing decent math is enough to make you go from a winning position to a significantly losing position. Respect your deck.
How many players would autopilot play all the high diffs play all the high difficulty ones first, and then you can play the 0 on a 3, and that's guaranteed.
Oh, that's guaranteed.
But at the same time, the one before it's not, right? So you can get denied both of those resources just by misreading the risk involved.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here it is. Yeah. I got a chop coming in. 3 low for 5. If blocked, they got to discard a card.
End up handless if you block this.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way we block this as Garrett, right?
I could see it actually. It seems wrong. It is the freest damage, but I could see it. The interesting thing will be if we put hardened damage on it.
Yeah, that's true. I think if we put hard damage on this, though, we don't get to draw with All Might, right?
Yeah, potentially.
And I think drawing with All Might is way cooler than anything else.
That's why I play that character. I love the 8 hand size 30 health. The speed and damage pump, that's like a cool bonus.
Yeah. Because this isn't 5 damage in him. I mean, it's 7, right? Oh, here comes the Harden because we paid the 2 for the -4. He said, nah. This needs to be positive stats, actually. Last game, I put you to 1. Not happening this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get the bonus damage from All Might, the bonus damage from Harden, going to counteract that -4 damage. And that's pretty much all you can ask for both players, right? Both players utilizing those resources as well as they can. However, we do have that 1 extra committed foundation from All Might, and he's already behind on build. So things could spiral out of control if we don't try to build up our stage here.
He just refuses to listen to you. He doesn't want to. He said, hey, I'm in Texas. I'm here to Texas. So we got a Texas Smash coming in, 4 high for 3/7 with the combo, even more with All Might. And it could be time to start popping off with this one with Nature, depending on how deep I want to push in.
Yeah, it's aggressive, but I like it. We do have to build on this turn, though. If we end our turn having only played attacks, I think it's going to look pretty bad.
Yeah.
Your window is going to close, right, as soon as we start gaining that speed hate from our stage, as soon as we start building up on the fire symbol. And a breaker block is almost certainly going to put an end to this aggression here.
It's got to, right? Unless our hand is so single-noted of a swing. I mean, it is okay for us to call it quits. We got the 1 chop hit in. Let's grab that momentum and let's kind of run with it.
Let's build our hand out. Let's draw on the opponent's turn. Let's get some defense going. Let's make sure we can win this long game.
Can I talk for a second about some opinion stuff? I don't think I'm a very big fan of Texas Smash anymore. I loved that card set 1, set 2. I think as I'm pushing forward in set 3, I am significantly lower on that card. What are your thoughts on Texas Smash?
It's interesting. I was going to talk about this in our last matchup where it was Kirishima versus Kamui. However, I didn't get quite around to it because we had the game infraction part that kind of took our attention away, right?
Sure.
And so we saw neither of those players playing Texas Smash in either of those decks. And I believe a lot of it has to do with face shield. having that combo restriction, having that combo requirement has gotten tougher to deal with. Having different discard outlets with nature, where you're getting like better stats, you're getting more uninteractable stats, feels a lot better. It turns other attacks into something similar. And they don't really go super well together. Like, yes, you get 1 extra damage when you discard with the Texas Smash, but you're not going to be activating the better effect on one with nature as well. So I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that these decks are taxing their own hands so often that you're better off playing cards like Rapid Punches or cards like Hardened Barrage, which pump themselves over the course of your turn without that hand tax.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a little more, it's a different line and a different way of thinking. It shows that as the game grows, adapts, evolves, there's not just a single correct strategy. There's lots of different lines that you can take in order to achieve victory.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, you mentioned that a player actually came up to me after their stream match and was like, "Hey, you watched my match. You have any tips? What did I do wrong?" And I told him I don't know your deck, so I cannot tell you that. Like, there is no strictly best card or strictly best way. And we've seen from all of our past events, the meta evolves quickly in this game.
Yeah.
People adapt quickly, immediately. Things are not solved quickly, but people adapt quickly.
Yeah, it's why, like, I've had a lot of people talking to me about, man, there's a lot of Kirishimas here. You think Jessica's going to do something about Kirishima? And I told him straight up, no, I don't think so. Because I think that Jasco doesn't need to do something about Kirishima. I think that they've already given us the tools to mess around with that. The next big tournament happens and Kirishima and we couldn't come up with a solution, we can start talking about what's up with Kirishima.
Well,
but
And people said that at the beginning, right, of set 2, and it's like, what did Kirishima really accomplish? What menacing things did he really do? He won some tournaments. That's not illegal. That's not terrible.
That's the goal.
It's
that's
not
the goal of
rules,
every
right.
character. The goal of every character should be to win tournaments.
Yeah, and so when it comes down to not having like a crazy, design issue or having like, something that might impact further health, right? The last bans were further health of the game, future health. Bands. So when it comes to Kirishima, it would be a knee-jerk reaction like this deep into the competitive scene,
right?
And this early into a format, like it's just not the time for it.
I completely and totally agree. But we had a poke. We smacked with a Hellflame Stomp and got a little bit of build out. But now it is back to our number one hero, All Might. Ready to swing back at it again with one of the super cool ultra rares from the new set, Wind Up Punch. What are your thoughts on Wind Up Punch?
Man, it's trying so hard to be friends with Back Alley Haymaker. It is. It's wearing the same shoes. It's going to the same fast food places. It's signing up for the same classes. It wants to hang out with Back Alley Haymaker. And, for what it's worth, when you've got one with nature down, it looks great. It looks awesome, right? You have the discard outlet that is maybe the best discard outlet in the format.
For sure.
Then you get what is maybe the strongest keyword in the game. I think Breaker might be it, but Stun has shown up in set 3 in a major way.
Well, they made an entire block rotation of Stun 2 cards, right? Including this Wind Up Punch itself. And so, like, the game obviously is like, if your opponent has a wall, I'm going to give you the tools to break it. And we are seeing it with Wind Up Punch and Back Alley Haymaker and the rest of all the crazy Stun 2. I mean, we've got Wind Up Punch, Back Alley Haymaker on one side, and then we've got Giant Ice Wall on the other side with Garrett's Endeavor deck. So, like, the Stun keyword, I think you're right. I think it might be the most, if it's not the best, it's the most impactful for sure.
It wasn't super strong because of it can't be fixed in the early game, and like Breaker was just one of the best keywords of all time for the game, but especially set 1 My Hero, it was such a big deal. And now decks can kind of play around it. We've got resource ramping to go around Breaker. So Breaker came down a bit, Stun came up a bit, and I think they're pretty close if Stun isn't the best keyword right now.
That's totally fair. I remember in set 1 I was a big fan of Powerful, but those all my home run Comet dreams. I just wanted to play baseball.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Powerful, I don't know if you were a fan of Powerful or the fact that Home Run Comet fuels itself.
All right, column A, column B. I'm in.
Hey, Pull No Punches does a lot of that same work though too, right?
True, which we just built, which is a deadlock pressure that we didn't have last game. Yes. Garrett, if he sneaks into that 11th foundation again, it's possible we get to punish him for it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if Garrett is, fearless of that deadlock, right? He's a little bit behind on health, and the boards are much more even than they were before. And so walking directly into the deadlock of pull no punches combined with one with nature is going to stress your board out so quickly.
Absolutely.
Even if you have 14 foundations, it's going to look like you have 10 foundations very quickly.
Correct. Yeah. And the point of deadlock is to feel good behind this gigantic castle, this wall that you've built. Mm-hmm. But good wall breaking deadlocks can be absolutely detrimental.
Yeah, deadlock is one of those keywords. It's a restriction where you can only play the ability if your rival has more than 10 foundations. So they have to have at least 11 foundations to activate it. And those are serving as your super late game abilities. Those are serving as like your ability to close out a game. And another attack that is pretty good at closing out games on any turn is rapid punches. Now, we've seen rapid punches before on the stream, but we've not seen a hardened barrage all day. I've not seen a hardened barrage, at least. Is there something wrong with hardened barrage?
No, I think hardened barrage is just a little more niche, right? Mm-hmm. Not only is rapid punches on the low zone, rapid punches gives itself speed, which is the more impactful stat, but draw one card is arguably more versatile than unflip one foundation, even though unflip one foundation undeniably is the stronger ability, right?
Right.
One of the things that I've been testing for one of my Worlds decks is Ojiro 2 under Earth or All, playing Rapid Punches and Hardened Barrage. When you flip your Student of the Art, you Hardened Barrage, and you unflip your Student of the Art, your opponent goes, "Oh man, I don't know what to do now. I thought I had to deal with this for one turn." But
yeah,
if you don't have a bunch of face downs, like Garrett's not playing with a bunch of face downs, then unflip one does not feel that great.
Yeah, that's essentially where I end up in my testing, where one is very situational versus one that is always good. Drawing a card, always something you want to do pretty much. And so when it comes down to it, a lot of people I've talked to, they say, I like the card, but it is slower. It's on the worst zone. Like high is a more blockable zone most of the time. And then on top of that, how many things do I really need to unflip right now? Even when you unflip Student of the Art, if you're not adding another, Punch Brothers attack, as I like to call them, you're not going to get that immediate value. So like unflipping that Student, amazing tempo play, but a lot of players are really worried about what am I doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, in this scenario, like, let's pretend for a moment, let's live in a fantasy world that this Rapid Punches wasn't the hard barrage. Maybe what this means is we actually get to be a little more loose with our latent skills, right?
Yeah.
I latent skill, I discard my 2, I redraw, I hit them with the barrage, I unflip latent skill. That's an amazing exchange right there. But I mean, what did this really get you? It got you to draw more cards. So why? We could just skip the middleman and just draw the one card off of the barrage.
And on top of that, it's conditional for your opponent blocks that you don't get that latent skill back. So you had to really want to do the latent skill by itself in the first place. It's not a purely synergistic style of play. So yeah, it's been really interesting to me. I thought the Punch Brothers were going to be like a huge thing going into set 3.
Yeah.
But looks can be deceiving. And we're looking here at a hardened chop, which is so tough to deal with.
Third one, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like same song and that's opting to block this one with a move that we haven't seen yet from Endeavor. I don't think I've seen this checked. This is like a one of Howitzer Impact Cyclone.
And then we discarded an Ice Storm of all the cards to discard during our rival's turn.
Oh,
did Garrett just walk into a trap?
Oh man. Airstream Driver coming in a 3 high for 6. He currently has no cards in his hand, I believe.
Did Colt just hoodwink Garrett Brett? We did not see this in game 1, right?
Yeah, not at all.
I did not see an Airstream Driver.
We have one card in Garrett's hand. His orange sleeves are combined with his orange shirt. I couldn't tell.
Yes, Orange Man, very bad indeed. But this is still pretty potent, right? It's going to get +3/+3 from discarding that. And if this is not a high block, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, look at it soaking 10 damage here. I mean, because there's no reason to give it the speed. If you only get the one card in hand, hand, I mean, you just give it the damage and chump check them, right?
Absolutely. My best guess is it's another Ice Storm in hand, though. If you're going to discard an Ice Storm and you have another Ice Storm, that makes a lot of sense to me.
That does make sense. Although, I mean, if we had Howitzer, Ice Storm, you could have played one of those Ice Storms as a poke, yeah?
Yeah, it's man.
And isn't that card isn't this card a Fury? The Rapid Punches? It's a Fury, right?
I believe so, yes.
So we could have used the Howitzer Impact in order to draw a bonus card, steal a momentum, draw a card, discard a couple bad cards, draw a couple good cards with a like there were moves that we could have done last turn. I wonder why Garrett decided not to press the button. It'd be 26 was just too high, huh?
Yeah, I get my best guess is playing it on a 6 to get 1 momentum, destroy 1 foundation, draw 1 card. It's kind of a wheel spinny move, right? You get a cantrip, but it's a 6 difficulty cantrip.
Sure.
It's a 3 speed cantrip.
Sure.
It costs you a permanent resource that you're probably just going to rebuild. So if you're not trying to lose 2 cards off Impact Cyclone, it's not necessarily the wrong play, but it doesn't feel like this huge impactful move.
Yeah, we'd rather our ultras be a little more swingy, I bet.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
Speaking of impactful moves, we are just going to take that, but it won't progress into anything more. We're going to end after that Airstream driver. So Garrett gets to sit on a little bit of health here, but he's got to get proactive.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got double latent skill. We've got quick to act that's going to be online because now that we're at less than half health. Irrefutable to deal with any sort of answer, like a pull no punch or maybe that high value target if we need. Yeah, I mean this could be an absolutely massive turn from Garrett that we've kind of sculpted from last turn, having built that second latent skill.
This is a pretty good one. It's one that heals us.
Yeah, Hellflame Stomp. I'll lose 2 from Hellflame. I'll lose 2 from Endeavor, or lose 1 from Endeavor, and then. If this happens to make contact, which it doesn't look like it will, at least not without some sort of block.
Luckily, the fact that it's response speed lets us know that we don't have to waste health on it, right?
Correct.
It tells us up front that if our first hands we can't accidentally walk into paying too much life for no gain.
Sure.
However, we could still pay the life to bring that speed back up to potentially threaten this board. There's not a ton of foundations on the side of All Might 3, really relying on specialist and high value target to block these attacks.
Right. All right. I mean, there's that, and the fact that like. I really like to take this game and equate it in terms that are also in the game, right? Mm-hmm. So we hit a response for the commit 1 for -3 speed. If I use Hellflame Stomp to -2 health to give it the +2 speed, and then pay 1 health to give +2 speed, and then we decided not to block, was pay 3 health, essentially pay 2 health, worth stun 1? That's the question, right? Because we committed the resources, then decided not to do anything with it.
Right.
It was a 4 damage move that just swung in. Is that worth? That's the real question.
And if once your rival does it, they're committed to at least putting that card up most of the time, right? They're at least going to try to block that. So pretty interesting turns coming in where Garrett is just determined to poke. He is determined to just play 1 attack, find out what you're going to do, and he got rewarded this time by getting the reverse route. What did I say into this game? He has no throw hate. That's guaranteed damage he just threw away as a block.
Yeah, I mean, if you threaten that move behind a Texas Smash, that does put Garrett to single digits. Mm-hmm. And the closer you can get him to that magical 1 health land, the less impactful his character is going to be. And now we get to kind of wash all over him. But this could be an absolutely massive turn from Colt, depending on how many buttons we press, and honestly how many buttons Garrett allows to press. Talk to me about Fulfilled My Duty, and what do you think the prospects of that card are going forward inside of this match?
This is maybe the card I wanted to be better, right? I don't really know how to put it. I expected Fulfilled My Duty to be almost a 4-of staple. I thought it was going to dominate formats. It was going to say you get 1 thing you can do.
Yeah.
You get literally 1 thing you get to do, and then I get to block, right? Combine it with, the the floating speed hate from ice gliding, and all of a sudden your second attack is super blockable and you get one enhance, right?
Yeah.
Like things like that. However, the forecheck, the additional cost to it, and like early game, you really only have one enhance you want to pull off.
Right.
It's not going to do much for you early on, but we're at this stage in the game where you have to play around this fulfilled my duty if you want to go for game.
I mean, we've seen one of the most powerful cards that Colt has in his deck being Texas Smash, which has 2 high impact enhances, right? I'll combo for +4 to this one, and I'll discard for +4 to the next one. If you interrupt either of those, right? If we decide to press one button or the other, either this is a 3 damage do nothing attack that I can just deal with the next one, or this is a 7 damage move and then the next one didn't get that extra speed pump. So like one fulfill my duty essentially says destroy -4 damage, right? Exclusively on Texas. But it all depends on the timing, and it depends on how stun works.
Yep. And one thing that we've touched on a lot in various ways is sequencing, right? It's basically what the only thing we talk about almost when it comes to the actual play-by-play, where fulfilled my duty forces you to tell me what's most important to you.
True.
It forces you to pick the most important enhance, and whether, like for Texas, whether you give it 4 or the next one 4 is massive.
It really is. Yeah, it's truly a novel in one enhance, right? Because it tells out the rest of the story, the rest of your hand of what's your plan for the rest of this turn.
Yeah, fulfilled my duty is such a powerful effect, earns its forecheck, earns its 2 difficulty, right? And yet at the same time, it really only comes into play in like later game situations, but it is a late game all-star. Also important, you can do it to your own attack. You can fake flash your own attack.
You certainly can. Well, real flash, actually, because, I mean, you get the first one, right?
Yeah.
There's not an enhanced, hey, this one's just going, it's rocking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it would be, it would effectively be the same. Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see if this fulfilled my duty even comes into play, because it's the kind of card you like to sit on. It's the kind of card you like to fire off at the exact right moment. And, you know, that moment is coming. Garrett has paid down some life now here to try and deal with some of these threats coming in.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's happening. Committing a lot of resources on Colt All Might's board. We'll see what kind of follow-up we have. Currently, it's very, very non-committal on either side, really.
Ooh, another Ice Storm is being shown here. The premier Breaker 2 block of set 1 has remained relevant on pretty much all of its symbols from every set, from every format. You can expect an Ice Storm in Top Cuts. But tapping almost everything out here, we're only left with a few foundations, thanks to that battle resolve, restoring a lot of threatening speed to this Haymaker, and Texas Smash coming down as our next attack, but checking a 4. So we're gonna have to commit a lot of resources to this, because that -2 makes this actually a 2 check.
Correct. Yeah. A bit of an unfortunate check. We really wanted to check a 5 there, and then from here, you know, weave us a tail, Colt. What's happening? Does this one matter, or does the next one matter?
How insane would it be if he has another reverse throw after this?
It'd be pretty good. And the real question is can Garrett? I mean, if Garrett can deal with this Texas, then we just get to save our fulfilled even later, right?
Very interesting to me that the Irrefutable hasn't been fired off yet. We could seal Pull No Punches, we could seal One with Nature, but neither of these cards have been used yet.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting to see, because Colt has the ability to get a momentum, clear one of his progressive, start discarding cards to make attacks kind of forcibly hit, but we're still not in a great position to capitalize off of that. We don't necessarily have 12 damage after this.
Garrett says it is time. I would like to block this now, please.
Yep, I'm done letting you enhance, young man.
Yeah. So we are going straight to blocks. I mean, it's a 4 high for 7. We didn't get the bonus off of All Might. We didn't get the bonus off of to the next move. We didn't get to One with Nature. We didn't get to clear our progressive, and we have successfully blocked.
And Garrett had to check a 5 there, right?
Yeah.
He could not afford to check a 4. Completely tapped out. We didn't get the +4 to the next one, which means there's pretty much no way maybe we
4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Check, save 5, commit there for 6. Absolutely beautiful. We've got one card in hand. 8, 9.
No use for the momentum yet, right? Or else we would have popped off that pull no punches. We could have cleared some of that. Well, I guess we
didn't have time. We didn't have time to build, right? Which would have been really, really nice.
And there you go. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Where it's like he prioritized that 4 damage on the Texas itself.
Yeah.
Over clearing that progressive, and it'll be really interesting. There's so many different ways to play this game.
Yeah.
It'll be so interesting to see if that actually really matters, because we're about to dump our whole hand.
Absolutely.
We're about to look like Deku. This is exactly the moment when All Might was like, what would Deku do?
Yeah.
What would young Midoriya do? He would dump his hand.
So we need Colt to have one more 4 damage or 4 difficulty attack, be able to play it, and Garrett not be able to block.
And it's one of the
4, 5, 6.
Maybe not the best to close out a game.
Commits 1 for 6.
Does Garrett have a block? Can he even pass a block?
There's no block that
passes.
One mid block. We'd have to check a 6 in order to make it happen.
That's
but
game.
There it is. All right. As this round ends, Colt bringing it back from an 0-1 fight. I think that was time in the round for everybody else, but I don't know if that's time for our competitors. We might have, I don't know, 5, 7 minutes maybe.
Yeah,
we might be going into a third game. Depends on how quick they want to shuffle up.
Yeah, usually the stream table gets a couple extra minutes. They got to get everything set up. We got to get everything synced. So we did hear time in the round get called for everyone else. However, I believe these players are going to get at least a chance to play a turn or two. It'll be very interesting to see, because I don't think either of these decks are turn 2ing each other.
Yeah, I believe that Colt has the offensive capability to do so, but I think that Garrett's deck is just tailored to be like, absolutely not.
And he's going second, so Garrett's going to have a board presence before him. He's going to have the ability to, you know, to build up a good defense. And really, Garrett has the chance to basically play not to lose, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
you know?
I do think that a tie knocks both these gentlemen out of top cut runnings based on where they were. I just thought the match was very cool. You know, number 1 hero versus number 2 hero. You know, I wanted to watch this match strictly for the flavor. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting because they both are like 6-handers that have more health than the average 6-hander, right?
Yeah, right.
And they both leverage it in completely different ways. Endeavor has to actively spend it. Endeavor has to actively spend that life to use any of the effects on his character, whereas All Might is just like extra sturdy. He is just like that the plot armor almost of the bonus health.
Right, absolutely. And then a solid build 4 from Endeavor. We'll have to see how All Might responds back. The only thing that Colt should be thinking about right now, I should just try not to die, huh?
It's tough, man. You know, you said tie eliminates both players, and so you feel like you really want to go for the win no matter what. But for one, I don't think he's playing go for the win, and 2, to tie Garrett Brett is probably an accomplishment in and of itself, if we're being honest.
Played in a tournament yesterday. I tied. I felt great.
Yeah.
I felt very, very good. I'll get him one day.
Back in 2020, I tied Tim Key for the first time ever and was like, that was my plan.
Yeah.
That was my only goal, was to not lose. So
I love it. I love it.
Halfway, I think I sideboarded into a super lame defensive carry. You went, you're just playing not to lose. Not to lose. And I was like, yep, you're 100%
Holy
right.
cow. We built 6.
Oh my, we left
Build
ourselves
5.
Oh, well, we get to draw 2, right? We managed to keep All Might ready, so
If there was a chance for All Might to strike back, strike hot, this is it, right?
yep. Oh, seizing though.
Seizing into rapid.
All right, we check well here. I was gonna say we might have left ourselves a little open, but we do get to draw 2 with All Might. However, okay, we're gonna flip this passing the torch.
And if we want to panic, I mean, we do have plenty of foundations, so our self-sacrifice is live to destroy for. I mean, you got to play even more attacks, right?
Yeah, this is it's a really weird one, right? When we know that there's only a few minutes left, that the overtime essentially gives each player like one more turn. Getting the production that you need, is going to be super tough. And neither player playing with a ton of haste, so they recognize that there's not much time left. They have to. The time has been called for everyone else.
Right.
And I think both players are okay with just not losing this round.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna see how hard Endeavor wants to push. Strictly based on, are we gonna flip this latent skill or not? Right?
Yeah.
We flip this latent skill. We flip a couple 5 checks. We could get there, right?
And if overtime starts on Colt's turn, that's it. Garrett doesn't get another turn,
Absolutely.
right? So it's going to behoove him to, the build out, progress his turn. Again, if he's playing to still get that win, right? Because a loss definitely eliminates you at that point.
Yeah. I want to talk about this close to overtime play. Whenever you know that the clock is involved, one of my favorite things about webcams is, got 2 monitors, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing my game, and on my side monitor, I've got the timer. I've got a hand that looks like it could maybe get there, but if I push into overtime during my attack strings and I fail, it's over, right?
Yes.
So I'll build 1 pass, hope my opponent builds 2. I get to cycle a little bit, sculpt my hand for 2 more attacks. Oh, now I can kill you. And in the overtime, I've got 10 minutes to actually play out my real turn.
Right. A lot of games I find myself doing relatively the same, where I'm more prone to, instead of just trying to deal as much damage as I can turn 2, I'm trying to get 1 big build for 1 big OTK turn.
Right.
Rather than trying to deal two medium damage turns really fast. Because if you do get the turn to come back to you, before the overtime happens, before the second player's turn, ends in time in the round, then you will have a much better chance with all those extra foundations you built.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's one of the things that like people talk about. Hey, how do you play the game? This is the game outside of the game. This is truly the meta game of it's not even necessarily like, hey, what character do I pick? When do I do? This is literally, hey, how good am I at reading a clock?
Yeah,
right, and that's affecting how good I'm gonna be at the card game.
And it's important to note too that if you're on the other side of the board where you're like, okay, well, time is coming up, I get the last turn, a play to not lose might potentially be to have a really aggressive turn, have one that legitimately takes, enough time to eat the clock, not a full 10-minute overtime. That's a wild turn. There's very few turns I've seen that take 10 minutes, especially this early in the game, right? But, legitimately saying, look, man, I might not kill you, but I certainly have 3 minutes worth of enhances to play over my 3-4 attacks.
Yeah.
That can sometimes be your path to not losing, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Letting your opponent not have the resources available to them to press all the buttons that they could have, right? Surviving because of overtime and my opponent had 2 more attacks in their hand because you played an attack string that you knew wouldn't kill them might be, right? It's a strategy that you can employ. Very cool to think about.
Yeah, and it comes down to a lot of times too, what is your deck building decisions? Because there's some decks out there that are insanely good but will never win 2 games in an hour.
Absolutely.
There's some strategies out there that are very, very good, but if you lose a 20-minute game 1, you are tying at best, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to proactive strategies, I think that's a big reason why early on you see Kirishima, you see Tokoyami, you see these really aggressive builds, because you need to know that in a tournament setting, you can complete your 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the Irrefutable has come in and sealed a hardened. So we have essentially commit 1 foundation for -3 damage, -2, -3, depending on the name of the move. So we've got 24 left. Ooh, back alley's a rough one here. And checking the 3. I think that might have dispelled doom for this attack turn.
Yep, I don't know where we're at with the timer. There's a decent chance, though, that time has either been called or is being called, during this turn, because we're still going to get to press a couple buttons, draw a card, put some damage, speed wherever we want. But it looks like Garrett might get another turn.
Pretty sure we just drew another back alley. Just taking him behind the movie theater and just beating the brakes off him.
There's
and there it is. There's the
handshake.
tie. It was not quite.